It's the Thursday evening edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. We've got big weather changes coming in the next 48 hours as this kind of ridiculous stretch is finally going to come to an end and fall is going to finally win the war over summer. But today, 79 degrees as expected. This was our forecast today. 79 is 16 degrees above the average, but not record territory. It's an old record today, 1897 on today's date. It was 84 degrees. The record low, the hard freeze in 1993, we got down to 26 degrees. All right, tomorrow marks the halfway point of October. Every single day has been warmer than the average. Above my head, these are the high temperatures, but when you factor in the highs and the lows, for the month so far, 11 degrees warmer than the average, and this will go into the record books as the warmest first half of October on record for our area. When it gets this warm at this time of the year, it's pretty impressive stuff considering that the sun angle, how high in the sky the sun gets, it's comparable, it's pretty much equal to the end of February 27th to be specific. The sun is only getting to about 40 degrees above the horizon now in mid-October after peaking at 72 degrees above the horizon back on the solstice back in mid-June. So the sun's getting dramatically lower in the sky, much weaker. It gets harder and harder to squeeze out days like today, but we're going to do it one more time coming up tomorrow. We've got a cold front off to our west. Now, this initial front is not much of a big deal. This is kind of the initial front. The better front, or the stronger front, is still lurking out to the west. The air behind that second front, this is where the cold air is, out here, behind this one. 46 in North Platte, Nebraska, 52 in Pierre, South Dakota, 48 in Fargo. That's the air mass that is finally going to come our way as we head towards tomorrow night and the start of the weekend. In the meantime, tonight, very warm, sultry night tonight. Temperatures staying in the mid-60s overnight tonight. Most of the night will be dry, but as we head towards daybreak tomorrow morning, shower, even a thunderstorm or two will be a possibility as the day gets underway. We could see kind of two main wet periods tomorrow. One early in the day, another late in the day, and then in between, we might not have a ton of wet weather midday into the afternoon. All right, with the afternoon update today, the Storm Prediction Center did expand the slight risk for severe weather tomorrow and tomorrow night. The slight risk is kind of a 2 on a 1 to 5 scale. It's the yellow coloring. Basically, I-77 on west through the I-71 corridor, heading back towards southwest Ohio. They kept the low-end 1 on a 1 to 5 scale risk for far eastern Ohio, the panhandle of West Virginia, and western parts of PA. I think there's going to be a pretty tight gradient between a pretty elevated, substantial severe weather risk and a pretty darn low severe weather risk. And we might be kind of in that zone where the risk for severe weather may be quite a bit higher to our west and a fair amount lower to our east, and then we're kind of somewhere in the middle. I think the highest risk for severe weather is, in fact, where they have that slight risk area tomorrow. And it includes a 5% contour here for the tornado risk. And what we mean when we say 5%, 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any spot in this brown area. This includes Columbus and Cleveland, Akron, Canton. Just barely gets to the western fringe of our area. We have a 2% contour for the rest of the region. These numbers, you oftentimes hear me say this when we're talking about severe weather risks. These numbers are not very high, right? Well, the severe weather or the tornado risk on a typical mid-October day is a fraction of 1%. And so 5% or even 2% is many times higher than a kind of a standard mid-October day. Now, there can be a shower or even a thunderstorm or two tomorrow morning, maybe even a gusty storm in spots. I think for most places, the highest risk that it could impact the most people will be as we head towards the evening on Friday. I've kind of got 6 to 9 p.m. as my first stab at this window. This may need further adjustments by an hour or two, give or take. But mid to late evening, or early to mid-evening, I should say, I think the highest risk overall of damaging wind gusts, flash flooding, and again, an isolated tornado can't be ruled out. It's a non-zero chance, even though I suspect the chances are higher to our west. And again, after maybe an initial round of showers and storms tomorrow morning, maybe a prolonged break, lunchtime through the afternoon before things try to ramp back up as we head towards the evening and our actual cold front starts to enter western Ohio late in the afternoon into the evening. Then a soggy night tomorrow night. It's going to rain most of the night. The rain will taper off then Saturday morning. A scattered shower regime for the afternoon. The sun will try to break out in between these showers here and there. But the big story, of course, Saturday is how much cooler it's going to be. Daybreak temperatures in the upper 50s, but afternoon temperatures no better than the mid-50s. And with a gusty breeze, it's going to feel much, much different. Just about, in terms of how it feels, about a 30-degree difference between Friday afternoon, Friday afternoon, and then Saturday. Instead of upper 70s to around 80, it's going to feel like it's in the lower 50s. Then kind of a lake effect rain shower regime continues Saturday night into Sunday morning. Just like with lake effect snow, this will be mostly focused on extreme northeast Ohio, northwest PA, southwest New York. We may get grazed with a couple of rain showers around here Sunday morning, but by the afternoon, we should just have a mix of sunshine and clouds. We're going to stay in the 50s all day on Sunday, and again, there'll be a gusty breeze that'll make it feel cooler than it actually is. But, you know, this cold shot, if you will, is fairly brief. I do think that it's going to warm back up as we head towards the first half of next week as this little ridge pops in. There's our departing trough, but the next trough is waiting in the wings out along the west coast, so we'll get visited by the ridge, bringing us beautiful weather Monday, Tuesday, into Wednesday as well. But then that west coast trough is going to kind of join forces with an upper level low up across Hudson Bay up in Canada, and it will carve out a pretty decent trough, I think, by late next week into next weekend across our area. And so I think next weekend will be pretty chilly stuff. Now, we're getting into the second half of October, and highs in the 50s are certainly nothing unusual. It's almost par for the course by later in October. So, yes, it's going to be chilly next weekend, but hey, that's the way it should be during the second half of October. Before we leave you this evening, I'll keep kind of talking in drips and drabs about the upcoming winter forecast. I talked about it last evening, and in case you missed it, we'll do our official winter forecast on Thursday, November the 4th, short version, to the point version on TV, longer version, kind of like these Weather Geek videos, will be online that evening. One of the main drivers of our winter forecast is going to be, we're going to have a La Nina out across the Pacific. La Nina is a cooling of the waters in the equatorial Pacific. Now, we had a La Nina last winter. This will be part two of a doubleheader La Nina. Sometimes this happens. We don't oscillate year to year automatically between La Nina and El Nino and neutral, and sometimes you have back-to-back El Ninos, back-to-back La Ninas. Not every La Nina is the same, though, and one of the key factors when we try to figure out the winter forecast is not only how strong will the La Nina be, because there tends to be a big difference between weak ones and strong ones, but also where are the biggest water temperature anomalies? Are they kind of out in the middle of the Pacific, or are they closer to the coast of South America? Right now, the models are showing it's kind of a basin-wide La Nina, maybe a slight focus towards the central part of the basin, but this may end up being kind of like a hybrid or kind of just a classic basin-wide La Nina this winter, and that's an important factor. When you have an east-based La Nina, typically the weather in North America tends to be quite a bit different than when you have a central or west-based La Nina. And so if we have kind of a basin-wide one, we're going to look back at past years that had that kind of a setup, and that'll be a big clue as to what the forecast ultimately ends up being. Thanks for watching tonight's weather for Weather Geeks and all the versions this week. I'm off tomorrow. We're going to have some active weather in parts of the area tomorrow, so make sure you're following meteorologist Andrew DiPaolo. He's in for me tomorrow evening. Follow him on social media for the latest updates, and make sure you're following the Storm Tracker 21 accounts on social media as well. Have a great Friday, a great weekend, and I'll see you back here on Monday.